Welcome back. NFL cheerleader claims of gender discrimination and issues over photos. You bet it's going to get attention from here and even to the UK. Sarasota resident Bailey Davis is now at the center of a debate about how NFL teams treat their cheerleaders. Her complaint to the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is raising all sorts of questions about pay, about posts on social media, but specifically about the fairness of rules, saying if a cheerleader sees a player enter a bar or a restaurant, they have to leave, not the player. And joining us for more are Bailey Davis, a former cheerleader for the New Orleans Saints, her attorney Sarah Blackwell, Susan Nylon of the Nylon Report, and joining us by Skype is Rock Riley of Sports Talk Florida. Bailey, I guess the central issue here is really one that kind of shocks most people in this day and age. Explain it for a moment. Let's say you are out with friends at a bar or a restaurant and a member of the team walks in. You're in the middle of a meal. You have to get up and walk out?
Right, not even with the Saints. Any NFL team, if any football player walks in, I have to leave, or NBA.
Yes. Sarah, how usual is this kind of rule in your practice, which is employment law?
I've never seen anything this blatant and this in writing and so egregious. There are dating rules a lot of times where supervisors can't date subordinates and different things like that, but to have rules where there's no prohibitions or limitations on the male football players. They can contact them, reach out to them, do whatever they want, trying to reach the cheerleaders, but the cheerleaders have to hide from them, and they get immediately fired if they don't immediately block them, run out of a restaurant. And like, you know, Bailey doesn't know what every single NFL player looks like. So if a player walks in, she doesn't even know if she could get in trouble without even knowing it, because she doesn't know what they all look like.
Bailey, is it your contention that the team may have suspected that you were at a restaurant or a bar where players were, and that they used the issue of the photograph, which we'll get more into in the next segment, as a pretext to fire you?
So there was a rumor that I was at a party, or I was seen at a party with football players, and they called me into Human Resources. They had no proof of it, and I denied the rumors. And then after the Instagram picture was posted, they said it discredited me and made them question the fact that I said that I wasn't, and it made me seem like I was seeking players' attention.
Did you have any trouble with your supervisors or the team prior to all that happening?
No, I've never had anything questioned about my social media or been in trouble for being out in New Orleans around players.
Rock, let me ask you this question, because you cover the Buccaneers and professional sports, and I know not only do the Buccaneers have cheerleaders, but there are cheerleader types at the Lightning games, at the Rays, and so forth. Is this a common scenario amongst sports teams that have cheerleaders?
You know what, Alan? I think the NFL, it's the worst. It is ridiculous. I've known a lot of cheerleaders over the years. The rules that they have aren't fair. But the thing about it is, with the NFL, see, Bailey and the other ladies really don't have a lot of leverage. The best players in the world in the NFL, like a Drew Brees, they're the ones that are driving fans to go to games to watch. And if Bailey doesn't cheerlead, or one of the other girls goes by, then they have other girls that are willing to step up and to do it for such low pay. It isn't fair. It's not as bad in other leagues, but maybe this can draw attention to the NFL. Maybe they can change things up a little bit. You
know, Susan, there is also another context here. It's 2018.
Sure.
And you would think that a lot of these workplace rules have evolved over the years, and apparently, at least when it comes to the NFL, they have not.
Yeah, they haven't. In fact, there's a lot of industries that are still like this, and the only reason they haven't moved forward is because they haven't been brought out into the light, like this, for example. So they've been allowed to exist at this level, at this at a position where they make these women not real people. You know, they don't respect their lives, they don't respect what they bring to the team, and they don't respect their service. And as long as it remains in the dark, it'll always be this way.
All right. It's not going to remain in the dark here. We are just getting warmed up. We'll have much more on Bailey Davis and her complaint against the New Orleans Saints right after we check the first look weather. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking about the case of Sarasota resident Bailey Davis, a former New Orleans Saints cheerleader who is filing a gender discrimination complaint against the team. And joining us for more are Bailey Davis, a former cheerleader for the New Orleans Saints, her attorney Sarah Blackwell, Susan Nylon of the Nylon Report, and joining us by Skype is Rock Riley of Sports Talk Florida. So again, Bailey, did you realize or did you think that after the party issue that you were on thin ice with the team, or did you have any indication about that?
Oh, definitely. I had to talk my way out of that meeting to keep my job. I asked if they had questioned any football players, and they said no. I asked if they had any written proof or photographs or anything, and they said no, it was just a rumor that was going around the football locker room and the Saints office. And they told me, they said, well, how do the players even know who you are? How is your name coming up? And I said I wasn't sure, and they said, well, you need to make your social media private, and we're going to tell that to all the girls.
All right, and I want to get to that in a moment, but Sarah, are the players for the team told if you see a cheerleader at a social event, stay away?
They have absolutely no rules, no prohibitions, no limitations on contacting cheerleaders. So they can do whatever they want and have nothing happen. But if a player contacts the cheerleader can be immediately fired, which is in writing.
And Susan, I would imagine from a legal point of view, and you are a law student,
Yeah.
that's what it gets down to in terms of can a workplace have separate rules for different employees like this?
Well, actually, I think Sarah would be the better person to ask, but it's unusual. It really is. It would be discriminatory as far as a non-lawyer would point out. I just don't see it existing.
It's if it's similarly situated is the key.
Right.
So
Now,
in pay, they're not similarly situated, so no one's asking for equal pay here. But in the sense of contact and social media, they are similarly situated.
Rock, let me ask you this. I mean, have you heard stories about this very issue happening, whether it's in Tampa with the Bucks or any place else?
Yeah, I've heard about it a lot. I've known a lot of girls, like I said, that were cheerleaders. The Buccaneers used to be called swashbucklers. And this has been going on a long time. Now, as far as pay, I know the Raiderettes got $1.25 million in back pay. New York Jets cheerleaders got $300,000 in back pay, but everything went right back. I just got an email from the Buccaneers here. They're going to have an open call on Sunday, and they'll probably get hundreds of girls that will want to do this. Until the girls say, I'm not going to put up with this anymore, then the NFL is going to keep on doing it.
And Bailey, when people have been talking about this, and I've heard this all over, some people say, well, you knew what the rules were and you knew what you were getting yourself into.
Right. It wasn't until after I was terminated that I realized this was all put on me to protect myself from what they call predators, and that the football players didn't have the same rules. And they said in the meeting in the past, if football even mentioned a girl's name, she would be terminated because it looks suspicious.
All right. Now, here's what I want to get to. You were not fired because of the party incident. You were fired because of what you posted on your own social media page. And we have some video of that we showed earlier, and I hope we could show that. The picture speaks for itself. But at the same time, I want you to take a look, Sarah, at the official New Orleans Saints calendar. If you could come back to us on camera.
In which she was told what to wear. She had no say-so in what she was going to wear.
Okay, so you're in the bikini there. Sarah, you're saying that Bailey was told what to wear. And obviously, you know, it's showing a lot more there than what you're putting on. So when it gets down to the rules, I mean, does that become an issue?
Well, I think one of the most hypocritical things is she had to sell these to be able to dance. I mean, she's an athlete. She's been dancing her whole life. They put her in this outfit, then they tell her, unless you sell so many calendars, you can't even dance. I think that the rules are very hypocritical. However, legally, that's not the cause of action. The cause of action is based on the social media limitations and prohibitions, not the hypocrisy of it.
Susan, you know, there's been so much talk in recent years about whether it's beauty pageants and issues involving objectification of women, and obviously the Me Too movement, which we've been living through for the last half a year or so, if not longer. many women are bothered by the fact that there are different rules for men and for women, but they're still saying, you know what, we're still celebrating objectifying women in this kind of way.
You know, a woman should be allowed to decide that for herself. I think the hypocrisy is that we have a woman who is asked to portray herself in a certain manner, whether you want to call it objectifying or not, it's a very provocative sexual way. And then in turn, in her own personal private life, we're telling her you can't do that.
Button up.
Exactly. So it's a personal individual choice that should not be made by an organization or an institution just because they want to control that woman's life.
Rock, what is your predictions? Because you indicated other NFL teams and cheerleaders are making cases of this. Is it coming to a breaking point in the NFL that the NFL, the league itself, is going to tell teams that something has got to change, whether it's involving pay equity here or in terms of these social media posts?
Well, you know what? The loudest voice is the one that gets something done. And maybe what Bailey is doing and making this a national story, then Commissioner Roger Goodell might be able to change a few things. But this has been going on a long time. I know for a fact that there are NFL players that actually dated cheerleaders, and then the cheerleader was forced to quit. So maybe by a story in a station like what you guys are doing or we're doing here, maybe that will help with some changes.
Sarah, what is the goal of this complaint to the EEOC? Because from what I understand, Bailey is not allowed to file a lawsuit. Right. So therefore, what is the object here?
Well, no one can sign away their right to file a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So we did that on gender discrimination based on the fraternization rules and the social media rules. She signed an arbitration agreement which states that she cannot sue the Saints in court. She has to go through arbitration. We've filed a demand, and all of this is against the Saints and the NFL. And then one of the rules and regulations for which Bailey is bound and the cheerleaders are bound, that is an NFL rule or regulation, says if you do not like a discipline, you can request a hearing with the commissioner of the NFL. So we did that as well. We want equal rules. I mean, that's what we're fighting for. We're advocates for equal rules. So we have the Me Too, which is sexual harassment. We have equal pay, which is a separate issue. This is unequal rules within not only just cheerleading in the NFL, but also NBA, NHL. And so ours is level the playing field.
Right. Now, the NFL has released a statement that reads in part, everyone who works in the NFL, including cheerleaders, has the right to work in a positive and respectful environment that is free from any and all forms of harassment and discrimination and complies with state and federal laws. We should point that out. But Bailey, just from a personal, human point of view, how has this affected you? Because I'm sure the last thing you wanted to do is to become a cause celeb for this issue.
Well, it's been devastating having to lose my dream job over something like this. I've worked my whole life for this. I've been growing up with, as a Saints fan with my family, my mom being the coach. The Saints have been a huge part of my life. So I definitely don't like having to go against the Saints or the NFL, but something has to happen. This needs to be changed for girls that, look up to the Saints stations and say, I want to be a professional cheerleader when I grow up. This is for them.
Has anybody from the Saints or the NFL reached out to you, people that you may have, used to work with, to basically let you know how they feel?
Former Saints stations have been very supportive, saying thank you so much for speaking out. We were never brave enough to, because you don't want to lose your job. Former cheerleaders, not so much. I've been told that current Saints stations have said that I'm putting the team in a negative light, or I'm being selfish by doing this, and I don't think that at all. This is everything but selfish. Speaking out is the hardest thing I've ever done.
And other NFL from different teams, from NBA, from even some colleges have reached out to both of us. So it's not just the Saints stations. I mean, she's received a lot of support, and other cheerleaders from all different teams saying thank you, we really appreciate it.
All right, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in just a moment. Stay with us. And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Rock Riley, we're going to start with you. What do you make of this, and what should people, NFL fans, sports fans, make out of what Bailey is going through right now?
I wish Bailey all the success in the world with this, but I always believe if you don't have leverage, it's really hard to win. You know what? Life isn't fair in the NFL. Odell Beckham Jr. of the Giants is treated differently because he's so good than the backup center. Remember, there's 3 teams that don't even have cheerleaders: the Bears, the Giants, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And those organizations are strong. So I wish her well, but it's going to be tough.
You know, Susan, what do you take out of this conversation? And especially, what would you say to young women who are watching this right now and don't like what they see?
So I would say they have a role in this. We can't leave it to the cheerleaders to defend this issue. We have to take it to the next step. The female fans of the game of football, or just the female fans of another female, need to step up and help. They need to apply pressure to the NFL, and they need to demand a change, because if it doesn't directly affect them, it affects all of us. And if the NFL continues to get away with this, then everybody else is going to keep going.
So, Sarah, where does this complaint stand right now, and how soon will we see whatever the EEOC does with it?
EEOC will take forever. It's a government agency. The arbitration usually will take about 6 months to a year. We don't know if we'll hear back from the commissioner with our request for a hearing. But, I mean, what I would like to say for the final thoughts is, I don't care if 1 billion people want a job. It gives no one the right to treat someone in such a discriminatory and disgusting way. And to call someone's character into question because they may have been at a party or because they post a certain picture, I don't care how many girls want that job. It's not okay, and that's why we're standing up. And we hope the NFL and the Saints and any other team pays attention and says, can we just have equality? It doesn't cost them a penny to make the rules equal.
And Bailey, what do you want young women who are watching this right now to know? Because there may be a lot of young women who are aspiring to have the job that you had and lost.
Well, I hope they're empowered by this, and I hope this becomes a movement. I mean, if they get rid of the cheerleaders, what are you going to say to the little 6-year-olds, you know, on their Pee Wee cheer squad? You can't actually grow up to be a cheerleader.
And quick question, because you talked about other cheerleaders reaching out to you. Did any players reach out to you? If so, what did they say?
I've had one player reach out and show us support and say, you know, this is insane. We're all adults here. We shouldn't have rules on who we can date or who we can't date. And also, it is discriminating, but no one has spoken out publicly. All
right, Bailey, good luck. FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired, just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank all our guests: Bailey Davis, a former cheerleader for the New Orleans Saints, her attorney Sarah Blackwell, Susan Nylon of the Nylon Report, and joining us by Skype, Rock Riley of Sports Talk Florida.